Welcome to Court Cousins. Two cousins sharing laughs and talking the team they love, the Orlando Magic. Let's get into it.
We're going right into our social media roundup. And I think most of us might be aware, but T. Ross may have uttered some expletives in the general direction of the Orlando Magic media team. This was a post from Instagram, I believe, may have been up on Twitter as well. And it was from the official Orlando Magic media. And it was the picture of a car at the last minute swerving off an exit, which I think most of you are familiar with. And they have two options. On the left, it says, looking at the final score of Magic games, and the car is veering away from that. And on the right, it says weekend plans. It's taking the exit for weekend plans, not going to look at those Magic scores. But that's okay. That's kind of funny. But what made this so controversial is that one of the first comments is from Terrance Ross simply saying, please delete this, period.
It's all fun and games until whoever you're saying something about it sees it. I think, which is why mean tweets is popular on Jimmy Kimmel Live. And this is one of those moments where, obviously you read that, it's funny. But my feelings on this are actually that, I think it's okay for like people like us, fans, stuff like that, to make a post like that. But coming from the actual Orlando Magic, just 2 games into the season, I think it's in poor taste. And I like that T. Ross said something about it and didn't just let it lay. And you know what? Maybe they use this as motivation because they won that 3rd game.
He certainly did. I think right after this, he came out and dropped 22 in the 4th quarter. So maybe it was a little good motivation. Maybe we should encourage the media team to go after our players. No, I'm not going to encourage that type of behavior. They did take it down. I think that was the right move. I've been on the Orlando Magic Twitterverse and the social media out there, and generally people have been giving a round of applause to the Orlando Magic media team. They've seemed to make a change in the last season, and some of their stuff is really biting. It's really funny. It's really topical. It's really trendy. So I think generally they're going in the right direction. And anytime you try to live on the edge, you might fall over from time to time. And they did on this one.
Exactly what I was going to say. Not going to repeat it.
So that one was hilarious yet troubling. Let's go on to perhaps another troubling one. This one was from a new handle that I just discovered recently. It's NBA_math. Yes. And they do all types of statistical analysis on various NBA teams, players, things along those lines. And they did an analysis on an XY axis of the Orlando Magic team, essentially charting the efficiency, the player efficiency of our players. So on the y-axis, it's defensive points saved. So you want to be higher on that. And on the on the x-axis is offensive points added. So you want to be as high in that upper right corner as you can. And none of our players are above the 0 line on the x-axis, which is troubling. But I think what stands out most to people and what had people most up in arms about this post was that our boy, our number 4 pick, our number 5 pick, I'm rocking the jersey, just got it in the mail, Jalen Suggs, is all alone in the lower left-hand corner. Do your eyes deceive you, Pich?
Yeah, they do. Look, I love math. I love the NBA. And I love it when math and the NBA can get together. I love stats and all that kind of stuff. But I question this form. I don't understand how you can accurately predict or say how many points somebody is saving you. Because I saw Jalen Suggs playing some great defense against Evan Fournier in the 2nd game, which I think was a large part of the difference. He didn't do as much that game. Also, the Knicks didn't hit a team record 24 threes in the game, so that helped as well. But I mean, I don't know how you can predict how many points a guy's is stopping when his guy doesn't get the ball or he passes it off before making an attempt. So I'm not really sure exactly how they're getting that access there. So also we're 4 games in and he's a 20-year-old. So I'm not too concerned about it, even if this was what I would call correct, which I don't put a lot of value on what I'm seeing out of this right now.
Yeah. The only way that I can make sense out of this is if turnovers are included, because, he's 20. He's taking on the point guard responsibility probably a little too early, and he's having some turnover difficulties, to be totally expected. I'm not worried here. On the right-hand side, just for the listeners that might want to know, our top 4 most efficient players, according to NBA_math, are Wendell Carter Jr. He's our number 1 most efficient player on this graph. Mo Bamba, who's been coming out pretty hot. And then Franz Wagner, no surprise there. But you know who is in there as well? Our boy Rolo.
The creamy center.
Oh, yeah. So tonight on today's episode, and we are recording this on Wednesday, October 27th. So just before the Hornets game. We don't have a wager time in this episode today, but no, Pich, I wanted to give the people what they want because they know I'm a degenerate. They know they want to put their money down on our Orlando Magic. So I saw this tweet out there. I'm not sure where it came from, but it is a graphic with the Orlando Magic logo on it, and it has some odds for us. We talked about the odds for the Orlando Magic getting into the 9th and 10th seeds for the playoffs this year. I put some money down on that. You better believe it. But we didn't go far enough, Pich. This graphic shows us where we should have gone. It says Vegas odds have Magic at plus 50,000 to win the NBA Finals. That means, Pich, if you bet $100, you would end up losing $100. That's what the post says. Burn. But true. No one's expecting to go to the championship. Where'd this come from, Pich?
Glad you found this. Glad you like this. This is a Court Cousins original. I made this one. We're getting in the meme game, ladies and gentlemen. We're coming. This is actually a pretty good example of what we talked about earlier, where I think we can post this. I think if the Orlando Magic had posted this, it's not a great look. But although, honestly, I don't think anybody expects the Orlando Magic to win the NBA Finals. So it's a little far. But I just thought it was fun.
Yeah, I think that we need to have the Orlando Magic media team, just take a few off. Just grab some Gatorade, sit at the end of the bench for a couple, and just let it go. The last post is from our buddies at the 6-Man Show. I say buddies, I don't really know them. We've exchanged messages, and I'm a fan of theirs. At 6-Man Show on Twitter. This post is in regard to the NBA's 75 list that recently came out for the 75th year anniversary. And they wrote, I love Dame, capital love Dame, but him making the 75 and not Dwight Howard is just wrong. And Pich, I agree, man. How can you 3-time defensive player of the year back to back to back? I don't think anyone else has done that. I mean, he was the main cog, the main piece in our finals run and Eastern Conference Finals, like challenging every single year, beating down on those LeBron Cavs teams and those Celtics teams when I was in Boston. Boy, was it a pleasure going in to the Garden with my Magic gear and all the Boston fans wicked cheering for the Boston Celtics, dude. Nah, you got stuffed by Dwight year after year, and somehow he gets snubbed on the 75 list, Pich.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I am totally fine with him not being in the top 75. And I think I might be one of the only Orlando Magic fans that feels this way, but I'm sorry. The 75 greatest NBA players of all time. Like, he had a span of time for like a 4 or 5 year span where he was dominant and couldn't be stopped. But you could make the same argument for Penny Hardaway or some other guys if Tracy McGrady doesn't make this list, then I don't know. And if Tony Parker's not there, I don't know if it's right either. Like, okay, there's some guys that made it that maybe shouldn't have. I don't know if Harden should be in there. So, if we want to start picking out ones that you could trade out, if they're doing a top 100, I'm willing to listen to a Dwight Howard argument. But honestly, I'm totally fine with the list. They got a lot of great players in there. There's not a lot of guys I can take out of the 75. That's the problem. There's not a lot of guys that don't belong in there that he could take the place of. It's not that he's not great. It's not that he didn't have a great run. But also for me, him playing as a backup, for the last several years now, is kind of hurts my legacy memory of him when I think of him at first. I have to be forced to think of that span of time you discussed where he was dominant and couldn't be stopped. And, that's why like guys like Penny Hardaway aren't on there. They had a small window. Grant Hill didn't make it. Again, this guy was a triple double machine when he played and he was healthy. But, there's a lot of good players in that top 75. I don't have any problem with him not being there. A lot of Magic players got snubbed, but when we get 25 years down the road, we add 25 more players, maybe we'll have some more in there.
Yeah, I think I agree. This was a complicated list. It touches on what you mentioned just briefly. Is this a career achievement thing? Is this a talent thing? It's unclear. I would really like to see the criteria for if there was any. I feel like there wasn't because there's such a broad spectrum. I feel like they just got a bunch of writers, and I don't know who voted on this, to be honest with you. I think it was mostly
there was some ex-players, current players, even some WNBA players I've heard. Like a bunch of people had input in this.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like everyone came to the table with a different criteria. I think what I'm most up in arms about, and maybe other Magic fans are too, is like the Anthony Davis. Great. Anthony Davis is a good player, but he didn't do jack in New Orleans when he was the guy, winds his way out and can't win a championship until he gets with LeBron. And is that, he played his ass off during that championship run, but that was in the bubble too. And everyone was shooting the lights out, and so Anthony Davis, what happens if he gets, I'm not wishing injury upon anyone, but that's what happened with Dwight. He got back issues. He got, he had some issues that held him out from being a superstar when he went to the Rockets or the Lakers. I can't remember which order it was in now because I was crying. First. I couldn't see through the tears in my eyes. But, this doesn't really make sense to me with some of the guys that are still playing that haven't necessarily had the longevity yet, and their careers could end tomorrow. And I think they're in there because of talent. And that doesn't seem fair to Dwight, who has, your point is fair. His longevity may not have been like some of the other players on the list, but it's certainly more than, as our boys at Six Man are arguing, Damian Lillard, who hasn't really won anything, and Anthony Davis, who didn't win anything when he was the main guy until he got LeBron. So I would put Dwight easily over those two. And I'm sure there's others on the list you can make the argument for. But to your point, Tony Parker's not on there. That was surprising. Or is Tony Parker on there?
He is not. Tony Parker's not there. I could make an argument for Ginobili. I mean, like I said, you could. It's not hard to find people that are good that aren't on this list. That's what makes the list so good. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's the cream of the crop. It is the best 75 that have played in 75 years of the NBA. And honestly, if I really had to spread this out, I'm not sure if Dwight makes the top 100 if you really start thinking about it, but I'll listen to it at that point. But not top 75. I'm cool with it.
Oh my God. I can't believe I'm doing this podcast with you. This is ridiculous.
I'm wearing the man's jersey right now. I got one hanging on the wall back there. When he was here, he did a good job, but that time has passed now. I mean,
oh my God. We won't tell him.
Yeah. See, if he finds out, then it's real. But if he doesn't, we're cool.
We're safe in our ivory tower to sling down stones and sticks. Anyways,
I'm in a basement. I don't know where you're at.
So that was Social Media Roundup. Thanks so much for all the posts, the insights, the hilarity.